can feel the magic in the air, knowing miracles are everywhere when you listen to the wisdom of your heart. Listen with your heart. Listen with your heart.
This question is from a woman who says, "Dear Eve, I'm about to return to a relationship with a man I'm married to, but have lived away from for the past 5 years. I'm going to try again, but need some new communication skills. Please help." I see this a lot, where people split up and then they try to come back together, and that's super admirable, and I applaud you for wanting to get back together and seeing if you can make it work. The challenge is that we often do that. We have a situation we come back to and we don't bring any new tools or new skills to the table, and consequently we tend to get caught up in the same patterns and repeat the same thing. The other thing is we have a lot of story from the past that infects the present moment. So while I applaud you for returning to the relationship to see if you can make it work, I applaud you even more for seeking some assistance and some new tools and new skills so that you can bring something new to the table. So I always like to pose the question, what would you do if divorce were not an option and living miserably weren't either? Because one of the things that we do is we only see one of two options. We either see we have to get out, this is the ego blinders, we have to get out of the relationship, or the other person has to change. And when we really discover that there's a whole nother set of options between divorce and desperation, if you will, that's where we take these ego blinders that are always looking outside of ourselves and we peel them away and we step into this amazing realm of creativity where we start seeing other possibilities and other solutions. One of the pieces to that is to really keep your eye on the target. I have a lot of different couples come to me who say, we want a creative, loving, harmonious relationship, and that's the target, if you will. However, when they become self-observant of the words they're saying, the thoughts they're thinking, and the actions they're taking, they're not leading toward what they want. They're leading the opposite direction. And we want to bring all of that into alignment with the target. So if you want this relationship to work, and I'm assuming that you do, then you're going to want to practice that self-mastery of what am I saying, what am I doing, what am I thinking, what am I feeling, and am I aligning my words, thoughts, and actions with what I want to create? It's interesting to note that relationships are a lot of work. It's almost guaranteed they're going to be a lot of work. But the reality that I found is none of the work is on the other person. It's on ourselves, how we show up. And so the good news about that is that makes us incredibly powerful, and it puts the ball back in our court, if you will. The problem with that, of course, is that it's infinitely more fun to think the other person should do the work. So I invite you to just notice how you're doing things and what you're saying and as you do them. It's interesting to note that it's not just what we say or what we do, but even the thoughts that we're thinking behind them or the energy that we're holding as we say and do them. So if my husband comes home and I go, "Hi, honey, welcome home," and I run over and give him a hug, and I'm saying things and I'm doing things that are kind and loving, but I'm thinking, "Oh gosh, he's home, darn it," and I'm thinking unkind things that are leading away from my target, that's going to infect the energy of the whole thing. He's going to feel that even more than he feels my loving attention. So the invitation to you is to really be mindful of all of that. The other thing that's kind of a trap that I've seen for people, especially couples that have been through some difficulty and are now trying to bring it together, is that it's often overwhelming to think, okay, I'll try again, after you're already kind of exhausted and worn out from trying so hard already. And that part of that is that the ego gets super triggered into, oh no, again, I can't do this, I'll never get this right, he's never going to change. And we have that story that really screws us up, and that concept of forever freaks us out. So the invitation to you is to really bring your attention only into the present moment. You can't guarantee that you're going to love your husband for the rest of time. But the question is, do you love him right now? Do you want to be with him right now? And clearly my assumption is that the answer to that is yes, or you wouldn't try again. So if that is yes right now, how about right now? How about right now? How about right now? And if you're constantly really working with the present moment and bringing yourself back into alignment with your target and your love, in the present moment, then you're going to much, much, much more easily get there without sabotaging yourself. If you're thinking, I have to love him for the next 10 years, you might trip up. If you think, can I love him right now? Can I find the love in me right now? There it is. And now, and now, and now. And that's a really, really helpful tool that'll get you out of that cycle that could sabotage the relationship. One other thing I'd like to invite you to notice is that what you say and what you do is not even as critical as the energy with which you say and do it. So for instance, if I say, I love you from my need for approval, which is my neediness and my desire for your attention, saying I love you is really not a gift to you. It's an effort to get you to tell me you love me too. I love you, and I'm waiting for you to say it back. And that energy is not communicating of love. Sometimes what we do is say, I love you from our need for control, which is really about, I love you, and therefore you better get your act together. And that too is an obstacle to love. It doesn't feel loving, and it doesn't feel like that expression. So before you say or do anything, I invite you to really take a deep breath. Realign with that present moment. Realign with who you really are. And realign with the target of creating loving, harmonious relationship. And put all your words, thoughts, and actions moving in that direction. Another last piece is to remember to not only watch what you say and do and align those with your heart, but also work on listening with your heart. Sometimes when we listen just with our ears, our ego does the listening, and we start making assumptions about what the person meant or what we think they thought. And we make up a story and we attack them based on our own inner belief system. So I invite you to listen with your heart and see what what your partner really means. If that's their target of creating loving, harmonious relationship, hold the knowing that that's what they want too. And see if you can align not only your words, your thoughts, and your actions, but also theirs with the goal of creating healthy, loving, harmonious relationship. Again, the really great part about this is that the first time you got involved with him, you didn't really know what you were getting. It was a new, undetermined territory. This time you go back in, you're wiser, you're more knowledgeable, you know what you're choosing. So just remember you've chosen it, and then see what you need to do to take those ego blinders off to create the love that you want.
Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart.